Students, today we will be starting the first chapter of physics called matter. Now I suppose matter is something which you have studied in your earlier standard also. So we'll just start again from scratch. What do you mean by matter? Matter basically, it means that something which occupies space, has mass and can be perceived by our senses. Any such thing is said to be your matter. So now I repeat, matter is something which occupies space, has mass and can be perceived by our senses. What do you mean by all these things? It means that whenever I'm talking about space, space is nothing but volume. That means each and every matter is made up of certain particles, namely atom, molecule or ions. So whenever we say the word space, it means that how much space does that particular matter takes is said to be what your volume. That means when I'm talking about the space, it is basically telling you the volume of that body. That means that particular body has taken how much space, that is called occupied space. Second thing is has mass. Now each and every particle will have, I've just told you, it will have atom, molecule. This all atom and molecule will have what? Mass. So that means in case if I say that any matter is made up of particle, so particle will have atom, molecule which will constitute the mass. And last, definitely which can be perceived by our senses. So that means you will feel, for example, let us say, if it's too windy, so you feel it's windy. That's called perceived by our senses. So all these three things together can tell you that a particular thing is a matter. Example, if I say, just tell me whether air is a matter or not. So we'll just discuss one point. I will just say that whether air is matter or not. So if I'm talking about occupied space, okay, so does air occupy space? How can you prove this? So obviously yes. In case if let us say you have a balloon, okay, one is the inflated balloon and one is the deflated balloon. So definite air will just take the space which is present inside the balloon. So I can say yeah, air occupies space. Same example. Now in case if I weigh, okay, the inflated balloon and the deflated balloon. I hope everyone knows what is inflated. Inflated means the balloon which has air, and deflated means what? The balloon without the air. So first I have explained you occupied space means if you have two deflated balloon and one way if you inflate air, so you will see that space is there, the balloon will be occupied by the air. Second thing, now we are talking about the mass. So mass basically means what? In case if you will weigh both the balloons, inflated and the deflated, you will see that the weight of the mass of the inflated balloon will be more. Hence, I can say that definitely the only difference in both the balloon is what? The inflated balloon has air, and because of which its mass is more as compared to a deflated balloon, that means it also has mass. And last, obviously you can feel air. So all these three things are present with air, and hence air is a matter. So this is what you mean by a matter which occupies space, has mass and can be perceived by our senses. Now, as we have learnt about the matter which occupies space, has mass, perceived by our senses, and also we have discussed that matter is made up of what? Particles. Now, these particles are nothing but what I said: atoms, molecules, ions. This all play a very important role for a matter. The arrangement of the atom, the space between the atom, they all will play a role for its state, and based on this we can categorize the matter into three states. Why? Because they have different arrangement of the particles, and based on that arrangement we have three states of matter: solids, liquids and gases. So these are the three states of matter: solid, liquid, gases, depending upon its arrangement of the particle. So right now we'll learn about the properties, like the general properties also, and few more properties with respect to solid, liquid and gases. So here now, as I've told you, arrangement. Arrangement means what, you know? For example, if I'm talking about the solids, if I'm talking about the liquids or gases, all of them have a different way of arranging the particles. In solids, the particles are closely packed as compared to liquids and gases. Liquids they are little away from each other, but gases they are completely isolated, hence very far from each other. So basically, based on this arrangement of the particles, there are two more things which will help you over here to explain solid, liquid and gases. First is obviously the arrangement of particles, where you can see the particles are closely packed. So when they are closely packed, it means we say that the space between the particles, anything between, is said to be your intermolecular. That means the space between two molecules will be known as intermolecular space. Is minimum in the solid, little more in liquid and maximum in the gases. So intermolecular space means what? The space between two particles. Obviously, as they are closely packed, the space between them is the least. Here it will more than the solids, and gases where the space is maximum. So now what happens because of the space? When I say that the arrangement over here in such a way that all the particles are closely packed, it means that the moment when they are close to each other, the attraction towards each other also increases, and because of which there is one more thing which will play a role, is that the force of attraction will become more in a place where the space is less. Always remember this thing, whenever the space is less, that means they are closely packed, because of which the attraction towards each other increases, and because of which you can see as the intermolecular space is the least in the solid, the force of attraction will be what? Maximum. Here the intermolecular space is a little more, so force of attraction will be less. The intermolecular space is maximum, so the force of attraction will be the least. So now we'll start with respect to all the properties of solid, liquid and gases. First is, as I have told you, I will be discussing about the general properties. The general properties means mass, volume and shape. These are the general properties. Now, here, if anything which is fixed is known as definite. That means, here the mass, let us say, if you have certain mass of solids, certain mass of liquids or certain mass of gases, that mass will always be definite. Mass will never change. Mass will always remain fixed. Hence, the first property is that for mass, all of them will be what? Definite. For volume, because obviously I have told you that mass will remain fixed in all the three categories, solid, liquid and gases. Here, when talking about the volume, volume is definite. Definite means fixed. That means, in case if I have, let us say this, okay, now this is a solid. We are able to change the volume or the shape of this. So obviously, no, the solids the volume also remains what? That's definite. And the gases it is indefinite. Now what do you mean by this exactly? As I've told you before, volume means space. So here for liquids, if you go to C, or gases if you go to C, the space occupied, right, will not be what? Fixed for the gases, but for the liquids, the space will be what? Fixed. Meaning, in case of, let us say, I'm talking about the volume of the liquid is 1 liter. So the volume will always be 1 liter. That means it will definitely take a place of 1 liter with respect to what liquids, with respect to gases. Even if I have, that is, a certain volume, that volume will try to occupy all the space. Hence, it will not have a fixed volume. So it's said to what? Indefinite. So mass, volume, both are done. For the solids, all the three things are definite because you cannot change them. For liquids, the shape will be indefinite because the shape depends upon the shape of the container for the liquids. That means whatever the shape of the liquid will be there, container will be there, the shape of the liquid will take the place of the container. And for gases also will take place of the same container only. Hence, again they are indefinite. So over here, with respect to general properties, if I go to see mass, all the cases makes what? Definite. For the volume, for solids is definite, for liquids is definite, and it's indefinite because I've told you that in case of a certain volume, that volume will remain fixed. It will not change. But with respect to gases, even if I have a certain volume, that volume will try to occupy all the space available. Hence, it does not have a definite volume. And last is what? The shape. Solids will have a definite shape. Liquids will take the shape of the container, and gases obviously will take the shape all the available place available. So that means there is no particular shape for the gases also. So this is how we distinguish the solid, liquid, and gases property, general properties. Now, based on the volume and shape, I'll explain more two things which are very, very important. Remember now over here solids where everything is definite. Now, if I'm talking about the volume and if I'm talking about the shape, this both will play a very, very important role. With volume, there is something called compressibility. And with the shape, there is something called expand. That means they can expand or not. So remember one thing, students, anything what is definite is not compressible and it cannot expand also. That means with respect to solids, if we go to see volume and shape, both volume and shape are definite. Hence, volume cannot be compressed and cannot be expanded. You cannot expand the solids, you cannot compress solids. Now, if we come to liquids, if I just take volume and shape into consideration, volume again is definite in the liquids. So, can I say that volume, the liquid can be easily compressible? No, because I've told you what is definite is not possible. That means even liquids cannot be easily compressed, but they can expand. Yes, they can, because in case, if let us say, if you have a liquid and if you have a glass of water, it will spill. So you try to expand and take all the possible position. That means definitely it does not have a particular shape. Hence, will continue to what? Expand available space, in available space. Now, last is gases. Both are indefinite. Hence, they can be easily compressible also, and they can be easily expanded also. Example for the compressible gases LPG or CNG, which we use in our daily life, liquefied petroleum gas or compressed natural gas. These are the example for what? The compressed gases. So over here, one thing is sure, that in case if it is definite, then it is not compressible and it cannot expand as well. Hence, we can see for liquid both are definite, hence it cannot be compressible and it cannot expand also. Here only the volume is definite, hence it cannot be easily compressed, but you can definitely what? Expand it. And for gases you can do both the things. So till now we have just done the general properties. Now let's start with the properties related to the motion. Related to the motion means anything what is motion is said to be kinetic. That means in case if anything is moving or movement of particles is said to be what? Kinetic. So based on that, first I explain the kinetic theory and then the certain properties. Now with respect to the arrangement of particles, as I've told you, I'll be explaining the arrangement of the particles with respect to a kinetic theory. Kinetic means if anything is in motion, then it's said to be what? kinetic, or the energy possessed by the particle is said to be a kinetic energy. So now over here, the first thing is that each and every matter is made up of what? Particles. And the particles are nothing but atoms, molecules, or ions. So now obviously, as they are made up of particles, the particles will have a certain space between them, which I already explained to you is known as intermolecular space. And because of this intermolecular space, there is one more thing which will play a role, is the force of attraction. That is said to be your intermolecular. What do you mean intermolecular? Between the two molecules is called intermolecular attraction. Intermolecular force of attraction. Now, as I have told you, they both are interrelated, because in case if the space is more, that means the force of attraction will be less. And if the space is less, the intermolecular force of attraction will be more. So over here, this both I can say that in case of any particular arrangement, if the space is less, then the force of attraction there will be more. So can we give an example for this? Where the space is less? Obviously, out of solid, liquid, gases, we know that the space is less in the solids, and hence the force of attraction is maximum in the solids. So same thing, if the space is more, then the intermolecular force of attraction will be less. So first is particles. That particles means what? The matter is made up of particles, that is atom, molecules, or ions. Space, the space between two particles is said to be an intermolecular space, and because of this, they also have what? The force of attraction. And the intermolecular space and force of attraction, they both are relative, because if the space is less, the force of attraction will always be more. Hence, the force of attraction is maximum in the solids and least in the gases. Now, these particles are continuously in a random motion. That means they are continuous. As I have told you, kinetic theory means what? Anything in motion. So these particles are continuously what? In a random motion. Okay. So that random motion is exactly what? The kinetic energy possessed by the particles. So why the particles are in a random motion? Because they have kinetic energy, because of which they are continuously in the random motion. And this random motion, or you can say the speed of the particle, can be changed. It can be either increased or decreased. You can increase the speed of particle by increasing the temperature. That means in case if you increase the temperature, then the particles will move with a greater speed, and hence the kinetic energy will further increase. So this is basically nothing but the kinetic theory. So I repeat, first, the matter is made up of particles, atoms, molecules, ions. The space between them is said to be what? The intermolecular space, and because of which there is something called what? Intermolecular force of attraction. As the space will increase, the force of attraction will decrease. So solid has the least space, hence maximum force of attraction, and gases has the maximum space and the least force of attraction. Now with this over here, the particles are continuously moving because of kinetic energy possessed by the particles. That is called the continuous random motion is there. And now that random motion of speed can be increased by increasing the temperature of that particular particle. So this is a kinetic theory. Okay. Now I have already discussed the general properties. The general properties, now what I have discussed students, is volume and shape. Now based on kinetic theory, I have told you there are more 2 points. The 2 points are same thing which I have discussed, intermolecular space and attraction, the force of attraction. So now for solids, liquids and gases, what can you say about the intermolecular space is the least? For liquid, a little more than solids, and here the space is maximum. What about the force of attraction? It's the maximum force of attraction in the solids, little less than solid, and here it has the minimum force of attraction. So with this, we have finished our general properties and the properties related to kinetic theory with respect to solid, liquid and gases. Now we'll talk about the conversion of one state of matter to another state of matter. So we'll start right now with the conversion of matter. You can convert from one state of matter to another state of matter. How that conversion is possible, we'll discuss about it. So you can see, right now we are discussing about your interconversion of matter. Interconversion means converting from one state of matter to another state is said to be your interconversion. Now, the change of a state. Here I have distinguished between the two things, heating and cooling. So with respect to heating, you will be having these three terms. And with respect to cooling, these three terms. That means in all the cases, obviously there is a change of state. Now there is a change of state due to heating and a change of state due to cooling. So what are changes because of heating and what are changes because of cooling, we'll be discussing over here. So now the first thing is melting. So melting means anything which melts. So here, the change of a state from solid to liquid is said to be your melting. That means what is melting? Nothing but the change of a state from solid to liquid is said to be your melting. Similarly, you can see the arrow. The arrow is pointing towards liquid. That means solid to liquid. That means when you heat a solid, on heating, the solid gets turned into what? Liquid. And that is said to be your melting, because it is melting, it gets melted. Boiling and vaporization. That means on heating liquid, what will happen? The liquid will get converted into gas. That is said to be your boiling or vaporization. That means the change of a state from liquid to gas. Again, the arrow is indicating that liquid is getting converted to what gas? On heating. And last is sublimation. There are few solids which on heating, they do not convert themselves into liquid, but they directly get converted into gas. Such matter is said to be, such conversion is said to be what? Sublimation. So I repeat, the change of a state directly from solid to gas is said to be your sublimation. That means there are some solids which on heating, they do not attain the liquid state, but they directly get converted into what? Gaseous state. That is said to be your sublimation. And this all takes place on heating the solid. That means on heating, you have this three particular change. Whereas on cooling, now vice versa. So obviously, when you convert liquid into solid, can you see the arrow? So obviously, on cooling the liquid will get converted into what? Solid. That is said to be your freezing. So on cooling liquid, it gets converted into what? Solid. That is said to be your freezing. Similarly, on cooling gases, can you see the arrow, students? Gases get converted to what? Liquid. That means the change of a state from gas to liquid is said to be your liquefaction or condensation. And last is your deposition. Deposition, again the same thing. The change of a state directly from gas to solid is said to be your deposition. So the change of a state directly from gas to solid is said to be your deposition. Example, you can just take it over your ice. Ice gets turned into water, and then definitely here for sublimation, you can just talk about the naphthalene balls. Naphthalene balls, they directly get vaporized. That means they do not in a liquid state. Before that, when they vaporize, that is converted from solid to gas. So here we have done in brief the entire conversion on heating and cooling, that is melting, boiling and sublimation due to heating, and freezing, liquefaction, condensation due to what, or deposition because of cooling. You can just write over here also. This is said to be your melting, this is said to be your vaporization, and here this is said to be your sublimation. Similarly, the change of a state from liquid to solid is said to be your freezing. This is said to be your liquefaction or condensation, and last is your deposition. So this is nothing but the change of state of matter, is said to be interconversion of matter. Now, this all change takes place at a fixed temperature. It cannot take place at any temperature. It requires a compulsory fixed temperature to get converted from one state of matter to second state of matter. That is said to be your fixed temperature or a constant temperature. That means with respect to this term, you will be having more terms like same to same, just add point to it. Just add point to it. Melting point, boiling point, sublimation point. That means when the word point comes now, it tells you the constant temperature or a fixed temperature at which the substance changes from solid to liquid is called melting point. The constant temperature at which substance changes from liquid to gas is called boiling point. The constant temperature changes from solid to gas is called sublimation point. Similarly, the fixed temperature at which changes from liquid to solid is said to freezing point. The constant temperature which changes from gas to liquid is called condensation point or liquefaction point, and a constant temperature changes from gas to solid is said to deposition point. It means a point word means nothing but the fixed temperature at which it changes. So conversion is just a change of state, and point means the temperature at which it changes. That is said to be your point. So this makes very clear your interconversion of matter along with what the temperature at which they take place. Along with the temperature at which they take place.